When this season began, the Cowboys' backfield felt like one of the biggest question marks on the roster. Not because of a lack of names, but because of uncertainty. There was curiosity, cautious optimism, and a fair amount of skepticism about whether this group could truly carry the offense when it mattered most. As the weeks unfolded, though, that narrative started to shift in a way few people anticipated. What once looked like a position filled with question marks slowly turned into one of the most reliable and surprising strengths of the team, driven largely by the emergence of Javanti Williams and the steady rise of Malik Davis. Javanti Williams' story this year feels like a reset button on his career. Coming to Dallas after an uneven stretch elsewhere, expectations were measured at best. The conversations around him focus more on what he used to be than what he could still become. Past injuries lingered in the background, especially the knee issue that had derailed his momentum a few seasons ago, and his previous production never quite suggested he would be capable of handling a true feature role. Early on, he was viewed as part of a rotation, someone who could contribute but not necessarily define the identity of the run game. That perception did not last long once the season kicked into gear. From the first stretch of meaningful snaps, Javanti ran with a purpose that stood out. There was a noticeable difference in his patience behind the line, his balance through contact, and his ability to finish runs falling forward instead of sideways as the workload increased. So did his confidence, and soon the Cowboys were leaning on him not just to complement the passing game, but to set the tone for the offense. Carry after carry, he showed durability and consistency, taking on the physical burden that comes with being the primary back and responding with production that forced defenses to adjust. By the time the season reached its midpoint, it was clear this was no fluke. Javanti was handling hundreds of touches, chewing up yardage in both obvious running situations and moments when the defense knew exactly what was coming. His efficiency told an even deeper story. He was not simply benefiting from volume, he was creating yardage on his own, breaking tackles, pushing piles, and finding extra space where there seemed to be none became a regular part of his game. The run game felt more controlled, more deliberate, and far more dependable with him leading the way. What made his performance even more impressive was how it impacted the rest of the offense. With the running back consistently gaining positive yardage on early downs, the playbook opened up. Play action became more effective. Defensive fronts hesitated just enough to give receivers cleaner releases, and the offensive line played with a rhythm that comes from knowing their work will be rewarded. Javanti's presence did not just show up on the stat sheet. It changed how opponents prepared for Dallas each week. While Javanti was rewriting expectations at the top of the depth chart, Malik Davis was quietly crafting a story just as compelling in a very different way. His path to relevance was anything but straightforward. For much of his early career, he lived on the margins of the league, moving between practice squads and short-term deals, rarely given the chance to prove himself when games actually mattered. When injuries and roster changes finally created an opening, there were no guarantees that opportunity would last. What Malik did with that chance, however, ensured he would not fade back into the background. Every time Malik stepped onto the field, he played with urgency, as if each snap might be his last. His runs were decisive, his reads were clean, and his efficiency stood out even in limited touches. He did not try to do too much or play outside his skill set. Instead, he focused on hitting holes with conviction, protecting the football, and keeping the offense on schedule. Over time, those small but consistent contributions built trust within the coaching staff and locker room. Malik's value extended beyond traditional rushing attempts. His understanding of assignments and willingness to handle less glamorous roles made him indispensable on game days. Whether helping in pass protection or contributing on special teams, he found ways to stay involved and useful, which is often the difference between sticking on a roster and being replaced. That versatility gave Dallas flexibility, allowing the coaching staff to manage workloads while maintaining confidence in the backfield no matter who was on the field. The contrast between these two players is part of what makes the Cowboys' backfield so fascinating this season. Javanti represents redemption and resurgence, a player many had written off as past his prime who instead delivered the most complete football of his career. Malik embodies perseverance, showing how preparation and patience can turn a fleeting opportunity into a legitimate role. Together, they gave Dallas something it lacked in recent years: stability paired with depth. This combination also allowed the Cowboys to approach games with a clearer identity, Instead of abandoning the run at the first sign of resistance, the offense stayed committed. Trusting that consistent carries would wear defenses down, Javanti absorbed the heavy work, setting a physical tone, while Malik provided reliable relief without a noticeable drop in effectiveness. Defenses could not simply key in on one style of runner, and that variety added another layer of complexity to game planning. Behind their success was an offensive approach that finally felt cohesive. The run schemes matched the strengths of the backs, mixing inside concepts that rewarded power and patience with outside designs that leveraged vision and timing. The offensive line, often criticized in recent seasons, looked more confident and synchronized, benefiting from backs who hit their landmarks and maximized blocking angles. Each successful drive reinforced the idea that this was a group capable of controlling tempo, not just reacting to it. As the season progressed, discussions around the Cowboys shifted noticeably. Instead of asking whether the running game could hold up, the conversation turned to how central it had become to the team's success. Javanti Williams was no longer a gamble or a short-term solution. He was a focal point. Malik Davis was no longer an emergency option. He was a trusted contributor. Their performances reframed expectations and changed the way the roster was evaluated moving forward. The most compelling part of this evolution is that it did not rely on hype or external noise. It was built snap by snap, carry by carry, through production that spoke louder than preseason projections or past labels. In a league where running backs are often judged harshly and replaced quickly, both players found a way to make themselves indispensable, each in his own way, and in doing so, they reshaped the Cowboys' offensive identity as the season unfolded. As the weeks went on, the ripple effect of that backfield stability became impossible to ignore. The Cowboys started games with a different posture, no longer feeling rushed to score quickly or leaning exclusively on explosive passes to generate momentum. There was a calm confidence in knowing the offense could methodically move the ball, drain the clock, and control field position. Javanti Williams was at the center of that shift, consistently turning early downs into manageable situations and forcing defenses to respect the run. From the opening drive, what truly separated Javanti this season was how complete his game became. He was not just a downhill runner benefiting from good blocking. He showed patience when lanes were crowded and burst when space finally opened. There were countless moments where a play looked bottled up, only for him to bounce off first contact and squeeze out extra yards that kept drives alive. Those gains may not always dominate highlight reels, but they are the foundation of winning football, especially late in games when defenses are worn down and every yard feels heavier. His workload told its own story, carrying the ball hundreds of times over a long season tests not just physical strength but mental discipline. Javanti embraced that responsibility, maintaining consistency even as defenses stacked the box and dared Dallas to beat them through the air. Instead of fading, he seemed to grow more comfortable, understanding when to press the hole aggressively and when to let blocks develop. That awareness reflected a runner who trusted both himself and the scheme, a combination that elevated the entire offense. At the same time, Malik Davis continued to prove that his impact was no accident. Each appearance reinforced the idea that he belonged in meaningful situations. When Javanti needed a breather, or when the game plan called for a different look, Malik stepped in without disrupting rhythm. His running style complemented the starter, offering quick cuts and decisive acceleration that punished defenses expecting a drop-off. There was no sense of the offense merely surviving those snaps. It remained productive and composed. Malik's efficiency became one of the quiet strengths of the team. Limited touches did not stop him from maximizing opportunities, and his ability to gain solid yardage consistently helped Dallas stay balanced. Defenses could not simply relax when he entered the game, and that mattered over the course of 4 quarters. His presence allowed the coaching staff to manage Javanti's workload more intelligently, preserving effectiveness late in games and over the grind of the season. Beyond the numbers, Malik's football intelligence stood out. His awareness in pass protection, his willingness to take on tough assignments, and his understanding of situational football added layers to his value. These are the details that often determine whether a player earns trust, and Malik earned it steadily. Every correctly picked up blitz, every clean exchange, every heads-up play reinforced the belief that he could be relied upon when stakes were high. This dynamic also influenced how the Cowboys approached in-game adjustments. With confidence in both backs, the offense could adapt without panic. If a defense overcommitted to stopping inside runs, Dallas was comfortable shifting looks, knowing the backs could execute a variety of concepts. That flexibility made the offense harder to predict and more resilient when initial plans stalled. It was no longer about forcing one approach, but about responding intelligently to what the defense presented. The psychological impact on opposing teams was evident as well. Defenses that expected Dallas to abandon the run under pressure found themselves stuck in prolonged drives, absorbing hit after hit. Linebackers hesitated, safeties crept closer to the line, and suddenly the passing lanes opened up. This was not just about individual plays. It was about sustained pressure that wore teams down mentally and physically. Javanti and Malik became catalysts for that attrition inside the locker room. The backfield's success reinforced a sense of collective belief. Offensive linemen spoke through their play, firing off the ball with purpose, confident that their efforts would translate into positive results. Receivers bought into blocking responsibilities, understanding how crucial those extra seconds were for the run game to function. The offense felt interconnected, each role feeding into the next, anchored by the reliability of the ground attack. As the season moved deeper, discussions naturally turned toward the future. Javanti Williams' resurgence placed him in a new light across the league. Once seen as a question mark, he now looked like a foundational piece, a runner capable of carrying an offense through tough stretches. That shift carried implications beyond the field, raising conversations about long-term planning and how the Cowboys might structure their backfield moving forward. His performance forced those discussions not out of speculation, but out of necessity. Malik Davis' situation added another layer to that conversation. His rise highlighted the value of patience and development, showing that contributors can emerge from unexpected places when given the right environment. For Dallas, that created options. Retaining a player like Malik meant preserving depth, continuity, and a proven understanding of the system. It also sent a message about opportunity and merit, reinforcing a culture where preparation is rewarded. The broader lesson from this season's backfield evolution was clear. Success did not come from chasing headlines or relying solely on pedigree. It came from identifying fits, trusting development, and allowing roles to grow organically. Javanti was not forced into stardom. He earned it through consistent performance. Malik was not handed responsibility. He claimed it by making the most of every chance. Together, they embodied an approach that balanced patience with accountability. This approach also insulated the Cowboys from volatility at a position known for it. Running backs often face rapid turnover, injuries, and shifting roles, but Dallas found stability by embracing depth and flexibility. That stability allowed the offense to remain steady even when circumstances changed, a quality that becomes increasingly valuable as the season wears on and games take on greater significance. Before we roll on, subscribe to Cowboys Wire News, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Your support keeps the Dallas Cowboys updates coming. Tell us what you think in the comments. Rumors are swirling around the Dallas Cowboys locker room after quarterback Dak Prescott reportedly made a startling declaration: if he comes back, I'm out of this team. The remark, which has not been officially confirmed by the team, has sent shockwaves through the NFL community, leaving fans and analysts alike scrambling to interpret who he might be and what it could mean for the franchise. Speculation is running wild. Some insiders suggest Prescott could be referring to a former teammate whose relationship with him has long been tense, while others hint it might involve a high-profile free agent or even a coaching figure rumored to be returning. The ambiguity of the statement has fueled countless debates on social media, with Cowboys followers divided between defending their quarterback and fearing a potential locker room fracture. Sources close to the team indicate that Prescott's remark reflects deeper frustrations. Over the past seasons, the Cowboys have experienced a roller coaster of highs and lows. From playoff heartbreaks to injury-plagued campaigns, Prescott, known for his competitive drive and loyalty to the team, seems to be drawing a hard line, implying that any disruption of the current dynamic could push him to reconsider his future in Dallas. League analysts suggest that such a statement, if true, could have major implications. The Cowboys have built much of their strategy around Prescott as their franchise quarterback, and any hint of discord at that level raises questions about locker room chemistry and future contract negotiations. While some believe this could merely be a bargaining tactic, others warn that the comment could escalate tensions behind the scenes, potentially influencing trades, free agency moves, or even coaching decisions. As fans anxiously watch for clarification, one thing is clear: Prescott's words, intentional or not, have cast a shadow of uncertainty over Dallas. The NFL thrives on drama, but when a franchise quarterback openly voices displeasure about someone's return, speculation inevitably turns into a storm of rumors. Whether this will remain a footnote in off-season chatter or become a defining moment in the Cowboys' next chapter remains to be seen. But the league is watching, and so is the world of football. That's a wrap from Cowboys Wire News. For breaking Cowboys updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Tell us your take in the comments.